my name's Alana.
My name's Aoife.
And I'm Orla.
And we're all final year physiotherapy students and we'll be answering some of your questions today. So the first question is the course science heavy in first year? So if you're coming straight from the Leaving Cert, you do foundation year, and there is quite a lot of science content in foundation year, so you're doing the fundamentals of physics, chemistry and biology, but you have loads of help from the lecturers in RCSI. I hadn't done chemistry before coming into the course, so I struggled a small bit with that, but they're so helpful, and they put on extra tutorials, extra reading, extra materials, so we don't have to worry about that at all. And then for the following 3 years, it's much more physiotherapy based and less of that kind of science content.
So is it difficult to adjust physio after 6th year? So I suppose the big thing I found to adjust in was the extra time you had and having to be a lot more disciplined. So when you're in school, you have set classes, you have to be there. If you're not there, it's like, oh, where is she? You have to have a note, that type of stuff. In college, you're a lot more independent, I suppose, because they're small enough classes, they will notice if you're not there. But I think the biggest adjustment was about getting your time under control, getting to your lectures and just being organised for the days ahead, especially in the beginning when you're trying to get to know new people, you're socialising, you're joining new clubs and societies. It's just about making sure to have the time to get the things done that you need to.
So the next question is, how many hours of lectures per week, and are there any research opportunities? So this college is very good for research opportunities. First off, you do little assignments throughout there, getting used to research skills so that you're able to do the thesis at the end in final year. And then hours per week, so there's probably the 5 to 6 hours per day, and then that can vary. Some days there's 2, so generally it depends. The timetables can change throughout, but yeah, it's very good learning opportunities.
So can you work part-time? So I didn't work part-time personally. I found the Mondays to Fridays are quite busy. As the girls were saying, the days are quite busy, you have a lot of lectures, so 9 to 5 you're in college or you're in lectures in some shape or form, and then to keep on top of your stuff, I found I wanted to have the evenings off. But some people did work part-time. If you were to work part-time, probably weekends would be better, just to give yourself that time to rest in the evenings and not burn out too much. But I suppose it just depends on you and how the energy levels are and that type of thing.
So the next question is, do you have any time to get involved with extracurriculars? I think the three of us would definitely say make time. There's definitely loads of time. If you put your mind to it, you can join as many clubs and societies as you want. There's a great range of stuff you can get involved in. There's music ones, so there's choir, there's music society, there's drama soc, and there's the sporting ones. So there's definitely one for you. If you put your mind to it, you can definitely join, and we probably all advise to definitely do that. It's a great way to meet people, so yeah, there's definitely time.
So how are you assessed? So the assessment throughout the years is ongoing continuous assessment, and that just they're weighted with a small amount of percentages, so they're not the whole course content, and then you have your final exams at Christmas and summer. And so in 2nd, 3rd and 4th year you have more clinical exams, so practical exams where you go in, you're assessed on one particular skill, and so this really prepares you for going out into working as a physio.
So do you go on clinical placements? Yes, placements are a big thing. So for us in final year, the way it worked for us was you had to achieve 1,000 hours, so that's for your registration with CORU. So that's split over 3 years. So in 2nd year we did 2 weeks, so that was more just an introductory placement. And then for 3rd and 4th year they were split into 6 5-week blocks, and for each of those 5-week blocks you'd be in a different location, so you'd either be Dublin or in one of the peripheral sites, and you'd be in a different specialty area. And yeah, that's probably the main things of that.
Is there anything you wish you knew before starting physio? So I think when coming into RCSI, I didn't realise that there was foundation year. So it's pretty much pre-med, and you're in there, you're doing a lot of heavy science subjects, and there's a lot of learning in that course, or in that year. So that's for if you come straight from Leaving Cert. If you're coming in from grad, you don't have to do that. So that is one thing I wish I knew coming into RCSI. And then physio as a whole, I think I was very narrow-minded, and I didn't think about kind of all the specialties that there are. So there's a lot. I know like you did women's health and paediatric placements. So there's a lot more to it than just sports physio. There's neuro, there's resp. So yeah, I think I wish I knew them before I started physio.
So what would a weekly timetable be, and would there be any days online? So we started in foundation year, we were kind of split. The week was half online, half in person, but that was just because we came into physio during COVID. And then for second, third and fourth year, we had 1 day online a week. And the main thing about our timetables and the kind of change going from leaving cert into college is that there's no set timetable in RCSI. So it kind of depends. Some days you're in at 9 and other days you might even be only starting at about like 1 or 2. The nice thing about RCSI as well is the mix between the lectures and then the practical classes. So some days you do a couple of hours of lectures in the morning and then you'll go on and practice those skills in the practical class that afternoon. So the main thing is that the timetable is kind of always changing, which just keeps it interesting.
The next question is, do you take any modules with students from other programs? So kind of in first or foundation year, you're doing that with meds. So that's med students, kind of like a pre-med sort of a course. There's kind of a lot of science in it. So you're with them for almost all of that year. There's 1 or 2 kind of lectures. Well, it's kind of a module that's called Intro to Physio, and that's just physios. Then first year physio is when the graduates join, and you have a lot more lectures that are just your class, but you do share anatomy and a few other things with the graduate entry medicine, so that's another course. And then once it gets to second and third or final physio, then it's just physio class.
So what type of settings have your placements taken place in? So the majority of you will do placements in hospitals, so you'll either be inpatients, which is on the wards, or you'll be in outpatients, so that's for people that are just coming in for follow-up appointments in more the kind of outpatient departments, so you're not ward based. Then there's primary care, so primary care centres are more in the community, so like medical centres, and then there's an opportunity to, well for us there was, to go with like sports teams, so the GA, and then if later on, if there's a particular placement at the end that you really wanted to do, say if someone wanted to do private physio and you covered all the areas you needed to cover, there's an opportunity for you to organise that yourself if it's done in time, to do maybe a bit of private physio experience.
So what area of physiotherapy would you like to specialise in? So coming into the course, I was just kind of focused on sports physio, and that's just because that was kind of all I knew from what physiotherapy was being on the side of the pitch and running on to help the injured players. But after my time here and doing all my clinical placements, I've realised how much more there is to physio. I was lucky enough to do 2 placements in paediatric settings, so working with children. And I really enjoyed this, so I'm kind of hoping to go down that route and in the future work as a paediatric physiotherapist.
So do you find your own placements? So no, you don't. So the way it works is you have to cover the 3 specialty areas throughout your course here. So you have to cover one placement in MSK, so musculoskeletal outpatients, RESP, and neuro / like rehab care of the elderly. So over the time period you'll have to do those, and then when you're not covering those areas, they'll place you in other areas of whether you have interest in, or just areas that they think would be suitable for you. So say I covered women's health, oncology as like my extra specialty areas once I had done the 3 cores. If you want to organise your own placement towards the end when you've covered the cores, say if you wanted to do a sports placement or do a private physio practice, you can go to the PEC team, who are the ones that organise placements, and talk to them about it if it's something you really want to do. Another really good thing about RCSI is the fact that if you are put on a peripheral placement, so that means outside of Dublin, which more than likely you will be because most of our placements are outside of Dublin, the really good thing is they will provide accommodation. So the peripheral placements are Waterford, Galway, Kerry and Cork. So it's a mixture between hotels and apartments, type student accommodation. So you don't have to pay for those, which is amazing, especially if you're paying rent in Dublin. If you are from, like, say, Waterford and you don't want to take the accommodation and you're living from home, there is a commuter's allowance that you can get. So I don't think many other colleges provide accommodation or give the allowance, so that's one really good perk about RCSI.
So how big is the class? So in our class there's 35 people, but I think in the younger years they're starting to get a little bit bigger, so I know there's 50 people in first year physio. So yeah.
Are there many mature students? So there's a couple of mature students in our class who came into our class in foundation year with the students who went straight from leaving cert. And then there is a bigger cohort of the graduate entry students, and they join in second year, so they do a 3-year course then.
So would entering through graduate entrance physio be difficult? So I, like the girls, we all came from leaving cert, so we came through the undergraduate route. So the difference is it's 3 years for the grads, they join us after foundation year. From what I've heard, everyone is very happy they did it. I suppose just from chatting to them, or if I was personally them, I'd say the biggest thing would be if you've taken a period of time away from academics and you went to college, or you just finished secondary school and you didn't go to college and you've been 2 or 3 years or maybe even longer, 10 years out. The big thing is just getting back into the academics. When you haven't done an assignment or had to sit down and learn something, that can be quite difficult. But I suppose if you really want something, there's going to be no problem.
So what questions do you have in the interview, and do you have any tips? So for the 3 of us, we all came through leaving cert. So we didn't have to do an interview to get in, we came through the CAO. But we are good friends with the grads in our class. And I think a lot of them, the interview experience was very good. All the interviews are done by lecturers here in the college. So they're very nice. They don't want to trick you out. They do want you to succeed. So I think the thing is to come in, do your prep, be kind of relaxed, try and be yourself, get a little bit of personal interaction through the interview, and you'll be fine. That's kind of the tips that I have.
What is the hardest thing about physio? So we've all enjoyed the past 4 years. Like, they've been really, really good years of our college life. But it is kind of without a doubt that physio is a tough course. There's a lot of content. There is kind of a lot of exams and continuous assessment. So the main thing is just the time management, keeping on top of everything. It is manageable. We've all done it. And so the main thing is just keeping up with small amounts, keeping up with the work, and don't leaving it all kind of build up. But make sure you give yourself time for your self-care, get out, do your hobbies, spend time with your friends, join in all the extracurriculars. There's so many in college, and you'll have a blast. It's a very, very good course, and I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah. Stamp of approval here, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining. We hope you had a good time, and we gave you some information let's just grab that.
Thank you for listening, and I hope we gave you some information about physio, and hopefully we will, I was going to say hopefully we'll see you in RCSI, but we're gone. Okay. Thank you for listening, we hope you,
Thank you for listening, we hope you had a good time. Give us a subscription below.
I'm trying to go in there. Okay, we're like, thank you for listening, and we hope you gave,
Thank you so much for listening. Orla, you ready? Orla, come on. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you had a good time, and that we answered all the questions that you wanted.
And yeah, I hope that you'll come to RCSI.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, subscribe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.